I'll probably be like mid sniffle.
Well, mid talking. Welcome
Yeah.
to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdist Dave, and today I am joined by Deven Rue, Mistress of Maps. How are you doing today?
Other than having allergies drive me insane, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, good. Every morning I wake up like crying. I think because of allergies.
Yep.
Um, we just weird. Like so, I was telling you we just got a new puppy, and I'm allergic to dogs and cats to a certain degree. And
Yeah.
this dog, I do not appear to be allergic to, so I'm so happy. Like usually when I would
Nice.
play with my last dog, I get hives on my arms and stuff.
Aw.
But puppies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully it
So
doesn't occur later.
yeah, yeah. I don't think so, but I don't know. I I have never had this breed before. I mean, it's a mix between Shar Pei and Mastiff, so maybe the
Oh.
Shar Pei is hypoallergic. I don't know. Maybe the combination. I'm gonna just going with it. So
Well, you know what? It's puppies and kittens and stuff. When we have them, they don't produce as much dander, and that's
yeah,
usually what most people are allergic to.
yeah.
So over time, we just become immune to it, and that's how come we like our animals, but no one else's.
Oh, that could be a very good possibility as well. Uh, yeah, I've always just dealt with. Unfortunately, my I don't have like super bad allergies. Like I know some people, actually yesterday's guest was telling me like they found out they were allergic to cats because they ended up in the hospital. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Oh, geez.
They're like I can go someplace that has cats if all these procedures are followed, and then it won't be so bad.
Right.
But uh, but speaking of maps, have you made any cat maps before? Because I know you're a big cat enthusiast.
I'm actually not. Well, let me rephrase that. I can't say I'm a dog person. I'm just an animal person.
Yeah.
So I just happen to have two really hilarious cats that, whether I want them or not, they're just going to end up going all over my Instagram. Um, I can't say I've made a cat map though. I can say that a lot of people see very odd shapes all over my maps. So I'm pretty sure people have decided that I drew an island in the shape of a cat
Yeah. Why
with
would you not?
a very specifically placed tree, I'm sure.
Subconsciously, it just works its way in.
Yeah, like everyone noticed on the Rumble Cusp map that I just gave Matt that there was a smiley face in the trees. I was like, oh yeah, I guess so.
Oops.
Didn't even think about it. Just drew trees. There's
Yeah.
apparently a little face winking at you.
Hey, the master Bob Ross would call that a happy surprise.
Yeah, well,
So you've done a lot of stuff since the last time we spoke. You mentioned I mentioned earlier, but you've been working with Wormwood, Wizard of the Coast, Critical Role.
yeah.
So how's that been?
A little crazy,
Yeah,
but a whole lot of fun. I love creating really cool stuff for our hobby, and I like seeing it out in the community. It's insane to see my stuff on things like Wormwood or in a Wizards of the Coast official book. It's just terrifying.
yeah, it's huge. I mean, that's like as kids, like that's what you dream of, like
Oh
working with
yeah,
official Dungeons and Dragons, and boom, you're there, you're doing
14-year-old me
it.
completely lost her mind. I was like, oh my god. And it's great because when you're a kid and you're like, oh, I want to do this for a living, and
Yeah,
everyone's like, yeah, okay. There, nobody does that for a living. Apparently, somebody does.
fairly somebody does.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, congratulations. It's definitely
thank you.
awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so what have you done for Wormwood? Like I know you've done some stuff with them.
So we've made, because I have this stuff handy, of course.
Why would you not? It's probably in
Right.
you're in your office. It's in the office.
Oh yeah, everything is in my office with me because So we've made their dice towers have my maps on them.
It's so awesome.
And then we've also done, they made magnetic. tabletop tiles, and they have my compasses underneath. So, because if you flip them over, they can be a coaster. So my artwork is engraved in the coasters. And oh, nope, that one I can't talk about.
Almost. Oops.
Oops. Uh,
Excellent. My plan is coming to fruition.
right. Oh yeah, no, I totally will because I don't remember everything that I can and can't talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, wait, did we do that one yet? No, I didn't. Um, and then we have, yeah, right. I think it's just the coasters. Oh, and their mini vaults that they was their last Kickstarter that had my artwork on it and had like 3 different. And we also worked with Crystal Sully,
Yep.
who Mistress of Monsters, Mother of Monsters.
Yeah, so there's different nicknames floating around. I had dubbed her Mistress of Monsters like the first round of live chats we had been doing. Also, Crystal was like, "You should have me and Deven do a book together." I'm like, next time I have an art budget of like 30 grand, I would love to do that.
Right. Well, I am hoping to have something of my own out, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's gotta be tough because you're pretty busy doing a lot of, you're getting a lot of work. So,
yeah.
So it doesn't leave a lot of extra time.
No, I mean, I'm kind of like trying to figure out, like, do I actually need to sleep at all?
Yeah, it's overrated.
Like how much coffee do I have to drink for not to sleep ever?
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough. I still need sleep, and I drink way too much coffee. So I think the problem is like once you hit the perfect number to sleep the coffee ratio that eliminates the sleep, it's then you're just never gonna leave the bathroom.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh well, I could just move my desk in there.
Yeah,
we have 2, so
yeah. The intravenous coffee, and because like there's different things where you have to answer how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? I'm like crossing out cups and replacing it with
1
pot. Yeah.
1 huge mug of coffee.
Oh, that's a cool book.
It is from a German sculptor.
Dig it.
And I found them on Etsy. I was just like, okay, I have to have this mug in my life. Just like, who doesn't want to start your day drinking out of a Kraken?
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So, since the apocalypse has begun, do you find you're gaming the same more or less?
I'm gaming a little bit more because I took on 2 more. I started 2 more campaigns with friends. I'm still gaming. Video games is pretty much the same amount because I game almost every night anyhow. I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, so I am addicted to ESO. And then otherwise, I just cram as much work in between. But this isn't terribly different for me because I'm immune compromised. So I've been in quarantine before quarantine was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my wife is also, I guess actually probably was the last we talked. She is also immune compromised now. She's got like some weird rare disease thing going on. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my wife says the same thing. Yeah, I don't know. She's got some thing like she's allergic to water. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's like it's weird because it's like it's so rare that you can mention it and like doctors don't know what you're talking about.
Same here.
So we definitely been dealing with that as well. But what are you gonna do? We get to spend more time together. So
yeah, that's why I'm like, we ended up buying a house. So we were living in Portland. We found a really awesome little house in the mountainous regions in southern Washington.
Okay.
Absolutely love it here, but it was like either my wife had a huge commute or she had to come and live, come stay home all the time. And so she started working with me for stuff. And we have people that come to her for some, because she does bike stuff. She does bicycles.
Okay.
And she's insane. And we're very well made for each other. And so she ended up staying home with me. And right after we moved here, I had an immune flare up. So I actually haven't left our house in a year because I can't.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, perfect timing though. At least, we're
Build
in
a
our
dome. We
house.
just need to
Yeah.
build a dome over you.
Yeah,
We got to
right.
protect the maps at all costs.
Right. Yeah, just worry about the maps, not me. That's fine.
The maps are you, and you are the
Okay.
maps.
I embody maps. There you
Yeah.
go. I have reached that point in my career.
Yeah.
There's enough blood, sweat, and tears in all of them for that. Yeah.
So you're making these giant maps now. You're showing me before we got started,
Yeah.
which is funny because in some ways it's going back to the roots of maps for
Sure.
games.
I don't even know if you can't. There we go. I got to move further back.
Yeah. Oh
And they're
yeah.
just huge, huge maps.
So how do you get the fraying around the edges for the paper?
Um, so I actually used to make props first. For years, I did props for like local theaters and stuff because I'm a theater kid and all my friends are. And so I got to work with somebody who actually makes movie props, and they actually do like all the aged paper. So I was like, how do teach me your ways? And that's actually by you fold. So this is super thick paper. Like I said, it's like almost like a watercolor paper, like 140 pound. And you fold it over where you want to kind of start the creases, and you slowly peel it in a certain direction. And because of how I have this paper made, it's made in a fabric, so it has a more uniform lateral design, which I'm sure super doesn't make any sense to anyone else, but that's fine. But it allows it to tear in a certain direction and not all over the place, like how we end up scalloping paper when we try and rip it. So this is actually like a little bit more controlled because of how the paper is made.
You just need weird shaped giant like paper cutters that look like cookie cutters.
Yes, I just have something to just press onto it.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
stand on both edges and
yeah.
jump up and down, and it
That's
cuts through it.
that's it. Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking more pneumatic, but yeah, I guess we can jump up and down too.
Oh, that's well, yeah, that's true. I guess we could. It's the hydraulic press. I have this huge thing in my garage.
Yeah,
We also use it to fix cars.
yeah. Hey, multi tool.
Yeah, I mean, I have just one.
Okay. So, how long have you been making maps now?
Um. So professionally, that's a hard question to ask because I started doing props first, and there was maps involved. But just as a cartographer, uh, since 2013.
Okay.
I started like, oh wow, I could do this for a living,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then 2014 started Patreon, and then it all kind of ran from there. So it was 6 years.
It does seem like the D&D mapper niche is a really good one to get into, because I've seen quite a few people kind of pull it off successfully, relatively speaking to other parts of the hobby.
Right.
I mean, they're chained to a desk drawing maps forever, but they get to do it for a living.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, hopefully they enjoy it as much as I do. I love creating maps. I think it's amazing.
do you have a particular type of map you like making more than others?
Oh God. Not no, well, I do. I actually love to make regional maps more than anything else, which is the one that was just announced yesterday for Barovia for Beetle and Grimm.
Okay,
I like
yeah,
just doing it's close enough to like really show a ton of detail without being so huge that it becomes like overpowering, and as a cartographer it takes an exceedingly long amount of time to make like a world map with all that kind of detail. So I like doing the smaller regional maps, and then I like linking them all together because I just think that's pretty cool.
yeah. So do your players in your games do they do a lot of overland travel?
Yes, they do.
They're like, can't we just have one dungeon? Nope.
Yeah, no, they're hilarious. So originally it was me drawing all the maps, and I was like, okay, now you just y'all think you're funny. So I just started using like Dyson Logos dungeon maps,
Uh,
and I just print them out really huge now. So, and I just put those in front of them. And they're like, oh, fine. You know, they
you've
just want
turned
me to draw maps.
you've turned them into map snobs.
Oh yeah. And I love Dyson's work. So I was like, how dare you turn your nose up to this? And they're like, yeah, but you have like other stuff that fills in your dungeon. I was like, well, we can fill this in too.
There's like literally no reason to ever draw another map again as just like
Right.
ye old gamer because there's so many great maps out there that you can just grab and use.
And yet I am bugged on a daily basis when your commission's opening. Hopefully
Yeah.
ever.
Well, I mean, that's in the same category. It's just like you want one personalized or whatever. But
Yeah.
I because I remember spending so much time as a kid drawing maps, and now it's like depending on what your time is and if that's something you actually enjoy or not, it's like you can just grab one. I mean,
Yeah.
nowadays I'm more likely to grab one off the internet for my home games than I am to draw a map for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love when I do commissions for people, I love hearing the stories behind like why they want certain things a certain way,
Yeah.
and that's always fun because um, I don't actually think of myself like as a cartographer. I'm still a storyteller. I'm just telling your planet's story. So, and I love that idea more than anything else. It's one of the reasons my maps are so filled with details and stuff because I want players to be very immersed in what they're doing, and I like the idea of them like, okay, what is that? And
So when you're going through that process, is that something that happens while you're drawing the map, or is it something you've thought about beforehand and then you draw to that?
oh no, it's definitely something I'm going through when I draw it. So what I try to do is I try not to think about it too much when I'm like drawing a coastline, because I like that to be a little bit more free form instead of me trying to like fit everything specific that I've got going on in my head about it. But also, I love the idea that I am actually traveling these areas as I'm drawing them and meeting the people and learning the culture. And I now started adding the notes that I think of to the maps. So I now add like these people call the locals call this the Clover Lakes, or, this is where we lost, one of our party, or, this, I'm trying to think of what I've recently written. Oh, that we had to like avoid a coastline, instead had to sail all the way around. And there's only one path through a reef, or like, so I end up now I'm writing all of those notes on these maps because I can, and it's so much more fun. So, and they could be hooks. You don't have to use them, but it just looks like you found somebody's map who's already traversed this area and drew it.
When you initially pulled out the prop map, I mean, not that they were that big, but the aged paper and the frayed edges and stuff just made me kind of think about as a kid, and we would take we would draw our maps and then rub them in dirt and crinkle
Yep.
them up, burn them with cigarettes and as
um
handouts.
yeah, I can't quite say I burned mine with cigarettes, but yes, I've this is what got me into prop making, was playing D&D and wanting, as a visually impaired person, I like tangible things to help one really kind of tell something that I can't quite understand, like a normal sighted person can. So the idea that it's actually in front of me is amazing. But then wanting to make it true to story was like what really got me into it. And I love that whole idea. So I try to do that as much as I can for my own players. And we still play, like we play over the internet, but they all randomly get boxes sent to them. And there's little tags on them, and they each like they'll all have like a letter and a number. And so when something comes up, I tell them to open, box A3. and it's only certain players, or it depends on the package that they're being sent. And now I desperately I want to do this for my patrons, because I just think that would be amazing to get a full-on like little, we send mystery packages to our players. I want to do that to my patrons eventually.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that for?
That I've actually been doing since high school. This has been my first, I shouldn't say my first D&D group, but one of them was a bunch of us theater kids. And I don't remember what play we were doing, but it was a Renaissance. We took all the props home and embellished them to fit our game, and then we just started creating them from there. And then I learned how to make the aged. I did like everyone else, like you burn edges and it doesn't really look burned.
Yeah.
It just looks like this little line of black squiggly. It's just horrible. I found out how you're supposed to actually do that and what that's supposed to be. It's actually not burn marks.
Yeah.
It's actually because parchment is an animal skin. It's not paper. And so as it would age, the edges of it darken, because it's usually not as sealed as the center of it was, because they're trying to preserve the ink more than anything else. So it would darken and become crisp. It wasn't burnt. So I was like, oh, well, I guess that makes far more sense.
So is it cured? Would that be considered cured? I don't know what
yes,
the terminology would be.
It is a cured. It is a specifically cured a very specific way, so you could write on the surface.
Yeah.
So, and then they would coat over the ink if they could, and that's how we lost a lot of things. But they would coat over the ink if they could, to preserve the text as much as possible. And this is where things like gold leafing and stuff came from, because you were actually writing it out in ink and then putting a glue over it and preserving it underneath the gilding.
So I'm going to jump into the chat.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Because Dave has a lot of questions. Not me, Dave. Different Dave. How did you get involved with doing coins? Did you do them before the map? I think you partially might have answered this, but I'll throw it to you. Dave wants to know about coins and how you got into them.
So the coins that I made with campaign coins were actually map weights, and they approached me and were like, we want to turn your compass into a 3-dimensional object, which I was like, okay, I'm all for this. But the coins that I made for Matt Mercer and stuff like that, as a, just for fun, that is all because I obsess in world building a lot. And so I can pretty much say that I have made some form of currency for almost every homebrew campaign that I've ever made, because I can, or at least I've come up with like the names of them, because I don't think everywhere in the world would call it like copper, silver, gold, platinum. So I would give them all their own names. And then, of course, especially when you play a pirate game, you learn what doubloons are, and that they were remelted coins with another stamp over it. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And then that just means that, what do you mean? Like there was another stamp, it was something else?
Yeah.
Like that's really cool. And then they would make their own crude stamps. So that just sparked that whole thing. So I love world building.
That was the original money laundering.
Yes, it really was. Never thought about it that way, but yes.
Well, I mean, to me, that makes sense. Like, oh, so you steal all this stuff, but like,
yeah,
if you show up with it, some of them, they're gonna be like, oh, that's where it went.
Right. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Oh, now I got to add that to our pirate game.
Oh, that the story of why it's that like that.
Yeah.
Or have the story of the first pirate that didn't do that.
I don't really know if you call him a pirate at that point. You call him a prisoner, maybe.
Well, yeah, ex-pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so what tools of the trade do you use? for map it?
Oh God. Um, a lot of calculations. That is a really, so that depends on what you're asking. If you're asking about digital maps, if you're asking what I draw on or use, if you're asking like how I make prop maps, like
Very
that's a
broad.
broad, yeah.
So that could be probably its own discussion.
Yes.
So what do you use to draw with? I guess maybe we'll start there.
Okay. I actually draw on a gigantic 27-inch Cintiq from Wacom or Wacom, depending on how you want to pronounce that. It is a touch and pen screen, um, and it is gigantic, and it's the only thing that I can use with my visual impairment. But I draw on it. I disappoint everyone because I only use about brush, three different brushes in total, and all of them are pretty basic. Everyone wants me to like, oh, I use like this brush for this and this brush for that. And I'm sorry, I don't. I literally use like one brush to ink, one brush to pencil, one brush to paint.
Turns out you didn't need more.
Right. You really don't. You find what works well, just go with it.
Nice. Dave wants to know what kind of large format printer do you have?
I have an Epson T51. I can never remember the letters to it. It is a huge printer. It does, here, wait, let's
At
just,
that point, it's a printer you'd find like in an office, right?
oh yeah, yeah. It's a professional large format printer. It's something that you would actually see oh, what is the other printing centers?
Oh, like Office Max or like
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
Do they like they used to have just places that were just copying places? But I don't know if they exist anymore.
I don't know. I can't find anything local. I know that you can do it like online, you can have things printed, but
Yeah.
you know, I had to do it for myself also because I do use specific, oh, excuse me, hiccups. I do use specific paper and everything else. And this stuff would not go through a normal printer. Not
But
unless you want to destroy your printer.
you said you use like special ink too, right?
Yes, I use archival ink, and it's most most printers now use some form of it. Like even some of the cheaper home printers do, but this is like ridiculously expensive. I have to pick like the hardest way to do something
Yeah.
sometimes. But it's one of the reasons why they come out so good though. But it's archival ink, and it's what they would print a gallery. There you go. It's a printer that can reprint art. So you could print like a full-on canvas, archival canvas.
So you pick the hardest ways, but sometimes it's just about the details.
Yeah. I mean, it allows me to make the prop maps. So anything that would absorb the ink and make it so I could age and stain the paper, I'm like, yes, let's do this. So
So now I'm curious about this next question. So, is it fun or terrifying to antique and bloody up a map you've created? Do you use real blood? Are you using blood in your stuff?
no, no, I'm definitely not using real blood. Nope, not at all. Uh, no, I actually have it's actually acrylic paint that's made in a very thinned recipe. I am somebody who has studied arterial spray enough to know exactly what direction I should be flicking the paint across the map in to look like a particular injury occurred. Because this is the stuff I want to learn. Yeah. But yeah, I love it. As a matter of fact, the map that I made um, format that they're talking about, I was like, please, please, please let me make a scout map because it's just dirty, it's grungy, it's just almost falling apart, and it has blood on it. And he was like, okay, but not too much blood. I was like, no, 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 just a nice, colorful spritz of color, something tasteful but not overdone.
Making a note to myself here: artist, serial killer, arterial spray studier.
Yeah. Right?
It's
There
going
you
to be
go.
a villain
Oh, nice.
for sure.
Please, please name them after me. Oh, I the things that was in my Google searches, I'm pretty sure I've got to be on a list somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, game designers, writers.
Yeah.
Uh, I think
Yeah, but it
we
makes
end up
less
on
sense as a cartographer. I'm sure they're like,
what? It doesn't go together.
right? What is she doing? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about the study of arterial spray. I guess they have to do it for crime scenes and stuff.
Yes. I actually have a friend of mine that he's a cleanup crew.
Mm,
So I actually like asked him originally, like, so don't send me pictures because I know you can't, but I do know that you like he has books and stuff like that that they hand off to other people. I was like,
yeah.
so where would I might find these books? He's like, why? I was like, let's just say I wanted to make a prop map for like a murder mystery. I would like it to be as authentic as I can. He was like, there's something the matter with you. Yeah, but he's also played D&D with me, so he knows.
So they get it. They get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now I'm envisioning for maybe one of my games, a serial killer that's an artist, but they just want to study arterial spray for
Yeah.
authenticity. But the only way to really do it is
I
to
mean,
stab people.
yeah, and the art of getting away with it,
Yeah,
and projecting it specifically. So they have to lure them to a place to specifically get it to spray on the canvas itself in order
yeah.
to truly study it. Because that's actually what they do. Not that they lure people in.
Maybe I don't know.
I mean, they might. I don't know. But they actually take like mannequins and stuff and face them towards like a white canvas
Mm-hmm.
and study how the spray would actually go across. And this is how they reestablish a crime scene that may have been contaminated in order to figure out like how the sprays line up and how the person was actually attacked. I know way too much about this, and I'm sorry.
That's all right. Fun
Yeah.
facts.
I don't know if I'd call them a fun fact, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that stuff come up in your games? Arterial
Yes.
spray.
Yes, it does.
I've learned this, so now shall you as well.
Well, I'm also a LARPer, so and I do actual play, if you know what that is.
um, I know the
That means
term, but it means something different to me. I think.
um it means if you can't do it, neither can your character.
Okay.
So we have played a live actual play of Call of Cthulhu. And so I've been an investigator, and this stuff I actually know, which was hilarious because my DM did not know that I knew this.
Yeah.
So I was really good. I survived, but barely.
The time I was saved by my knowledge of arterial spray.
Right. Well, it's a little bit more than that because I've because there's no way to study just that.
Yeah.
Plus it more specifically was trying to figure out like what like an actual battlefield map would look like. So I've actually handed people my map set that are in SEA and just like go for it. I just want to know what it looks like when you're done.
Yeah. Oh,
So
cool.
yeah.
So they've recreated your maps on a.
Oh yeah, no, I've sent it to them, or I'm friends with them, I should say. So I have a couple of friends that do that, and because I used to live out in New York, and I have several friends that do that, and we're like, okay, can you just put this map on your person, take it out like whenever you guys are discussing battle plans or whatever? And he was like, oh yeah, yeah, no, I could totally do that, and it's an actual drawn map. So I drew their battlefield so they could do this for me.
Nice. So Dave
Yeah.
wants to know about Easter eggs. Are there any? If so, are you willing to give any clues to any of them?
Easter eggs are only included if the DM requests it. But so for anything that I've made officially, um,
You don't sneak stuff in like programmers like used to do, or do?
I don't. I do only if the DM does. Because,
Yeah.
well, for two reasons. One, I don't ever want to take agency away from a DM. I don't want to put something that their players are going to focus on and take away from their story. So I put little details in my maps, but I try not to hide anything just because players really, players really focus on that one thing.
Yeah.
And it's not anything, but it doesn't matter anymore because it's now become that thing. So I don't purposefully do that, but unless it's requested.
Gotcha.
As to whether or not there are any, the answer is I can't answer that because they are official maps. So if there are Easter eggs in there,
You gotta find them.
yeah, that's up to you. Plus,
Interesting.
I hate ruining the mystery.
Yeah.
You know.
But then, according to what you just said, that means someone had to request that Easter egg in the map that may or may not be official.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So get out your magnifying glasses, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just gonna have to crawl over every single map
Yeah.
that Deven has ever done.
I can tell you though, I do put stuff in the maps that really pertain to the. So with Wizards of the Coast, when I made the map for Critical Role for the Wildmount guidebook, um, one, I actually know a great deal of lore about the world of Alexandria because working with Matt. But I found out that they don't normally give the modules to the cartographers to draw off of the descriptions, which is, I thought was odd because that's what I primarily use. So the maps are actually, my maps are more geared towards specifically what happens or is talked about in the guide itself.
Okay.
So there are some things that wouldn't normally have been in the maps, but because I got to read all the descriptions and everything, they're actually more true to what in world would be. So they're more canon than would have been.
Otherwise, it would
If that makes
it would
sense.
be more generic, I guess. Then.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, there'd be quite a few things that are especially with city maps because it's really difficult to it's difficult to take a description, especially something that's citywide, and turn it into something that makes sense on a map. So, but everything, like even my palettes that I pick for the maps, are specifically to kind of like give an idea of how the citizens view their own cities.
Okay. Like
So,
set kind of like to set the mood.
right. So, and I kind of want to like that's one of the reasons why all of my maps have a very different palette.
Yeah.
And like Hupperduke was one of my favorites to do because it was all like cheerful and pastel, and I got to draw craters in the ground and stuff because they have like an area that they test their war machines and stuff in. And but my favorite is Rosanna because it was just all red and purple and green. And there was a couple of versions that didn't make it to the book because it didn't translate into print, which made me really sad. But there's a lot of detail in that if you read the description and you know about the lore, you would instantly like, oh wow, that's in there, as opposed to just like what would be a regular ruin or regular building.
So that means if you're to draw things that are a little bit more depressing, then there's a lot of muted colors.
Yeah, but I mean that's also pretty cool though because um again, I love being a storyteller of a world. So I want players to go in and feel like this is how this area feels. This is like, I want to, like, why is it so sad? Why is it so muted? Like the tumble downs in Port Damali are just all browns. It literally just looks like a bunch of crates and shambles shoved together. There are hundreds and hundreds of these tiny little homes that are huddled together, and it looks like a really depressing area, and it is.
Because they're depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know. What
So
kind of so when you're GMing, what kind of stories do you like to kind of create for your players to interact with?
I have one of the best groups to co-DM with, because my players totally take off in their own direction. Um, so originally what happened was, I thought we were going to tell a story. We were originally going to start off with something akin to Strahd, because we wanted to do like a whole vampire story and everything else. But my players decided not so much. And we went,
Once bitten instead.
yeah, like so one of them actually turned into a vampire, and they went on this whole crusade to figure out how to cure it. And went in, like, they lead themselves. I've never had such a fantastic group. I feel like I do nothing but just set up maps and props. Like, I don't really feel like I have to prepare a story at all. But they're all theater kids.
Yeah.
They're all improv. I can't keep calling them kids. We're in our 40s, almost 50s years. We're theater people,
Yeah.
So they're great, because we always meet like probably about a half hour to 45 minutes before we actually start gaming. They will, in that time, decide where we're going story wise. I just sit there and, like, okay, make notes. Like, I need this map. I need this. They're fantastic. They go nuts.
Yeah, I've run for a group like that, and it's actually one of the games we streamed, and it was a small group. Like, we would play with like 2 to 4 players. Oftentimes, I think for a big part of the game it was like 3 players, and then sometimes it would only just be 2 players. But I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to be there. To be
Right.
honest with you, like they were just gonna do stuff no matter what.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm like, wow. So I'm just like, I'm here for the props, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, we now have it so both me and my co-DM also have players. So we get to be characters, because we don't really DM. we're just there to throw naps at everyone, or props and stuff. So they're great.
So you guys use DM player characters. What does that look like in your game?
They are uh oh god. So my group is, like I said before, they're visually and audibly impaired. All the way up to, one of our players is almost completely deaf, and one of us is almost completely blind. So we decided that if me and my co-DM were going to make playable characters, that we would make something that we will be support of the group. So I get to play a cleric again, which I actually really love to do. But now I have 2 games where I'm a cleric, and I'm like, oh, I might have to switch that out, because I need a little bit more variety. And she is a artificer. So we basically are super weak. Like, we have like no strength or anything, but we're great for just like, we're only there temporarily. Like, if you absolutely need a heal, my cleric might reluctantly heal you. But we mostly leave it up to our players to decide, because we're always doing something else. So it's kind of unfair to make us try and play a completely playable character that's always doing something. So I play a very timid, very battle shy cleric who's there unwillingly.
I've always had very mixed feelings about the DM player character, because I've only ever seen it used badly, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no. I have had a horrible experience with that. So I'm like, oh no, we have rules. Like, me and my co-DM, we don't cross certain lines. We definitely don't tell storyline. So, like a per example is my cleric grew up very isolated, so she doesn't know world lore. She doesn't really have, the history and stuff like that. She basically grew up in a very, very religious sector. So, you know, she's literally just there to like keep you as much as she can from not killing, from you not dying, I should say. So, same with our artificer. They just tinker with stuff.
What was the
So,
cleric from Knights of the Dinner Table with the duct tape? I don't know. It was Dragon magazine. They had the cartoon, but the one cleric was there, and we just used duct tape.
I mean, pretty much like so I play a Humblewood game. I have a cleric in there, and she panic heals people.
Panic heals. Nice.
Yeah, and so she's a cook, so she throws food at you, and that's her way of healing. So that's like she imbues everything with this healing spell and just chucks it at you, and because she's another battle shy.
You need the new Unearthed Arcana feat for that character.
What's to do?
There's a cook. So the last Unearthed Arcana was all feats, and one of them was a cook feat. But like, it gives you these abilities to make like treats that either give you temporary hit points or heal.
Oh, well, now I need to look that up because I'm using Unearthed Arcana for my druid. My druid, my Water Genasi is a Circle of the Stars because maps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It wasn't intentional, but it was funny because she's got a plot, and this will be perfect for it. And I was like, okay, fine. Everything in my life is just maps. It's okay.
Yeah. At a certain point, you just got to lean into it.
Yeah, just like I'm tired of fighting it.
Stay on brand. Always be on brand.
It's kind of like the nickname that everyone gave me, which is the Mistress of Maps. I was like, okay, I was all right.
There are a lot worse nicknames you could have ended up with.
Yes. So, I fought it for a little while, and then I was just like, all right, okay. You know what? That's fine. It could be worse. I'll pick that one. I'll go with it.
So, do you have any like a bucket list of maps you want to make, or worlds that you would like to map in?
I would like to officially remake the maps for Bethesda's Tamriel, because Skyrim is actually how the world discovered I make maps. So 2011 comes out, the game comes out, I obsess over it, huge Elder Scrolls fan. And then I made a prop map of Skyrim and shared it on the internet, and the internet went, wait, you make maps? And I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, not for a living. Yeah. Apparently I do it for a living. And so I'm actually redrawing it now. Every third Sunday, I stream for Wormwood's art streams, and I'm redrawing the map for Skyrim, hoping maybe Bethesda will be like, hey,
can you draw us some maps?
Right? Because I mean, that's it would be a nice, full, complete circle to my career. So, good.
Maybe if it's in the stars.
Right. I mean, otherwise, I've actually done almost all the worlds, especially now that I've done Barovia, which I love to play in. And I right after I did the Skyrim map, I got commissioned to make Faerun for Ed Greenwood.
Ooh.
On leather.
Nice.
So I made him a nice, huge, like almost 3 foot wide leather map of Faerun. So I mean, I don't need it to be official if God has it. So that's fine. But other than that, I mean, I can't really think if there's any place where I want as badly as I do to do Skyrim or Tamriel.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they'll see one of your streams and it'll happen.
I keep tagging them. I'm going to annoy them until they fucking hire me for it.
There you go. Start a letter writing campaign.
That's how I ended up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
like literally it was the map I did of Taldore. I tweeted to Matt at the end of campaign 1. I was like, because the character Percy was like, said that he would hire all the local or world renowned artists to retell the story, commemorate the story of Vox Machina. So I was like, oh, I would totally make a map. So I made like a commemorative map of Taldore and tweeted it to Matt. And although we had already, talked a few times and he followed me, I was like, look, I made this. How do I get it to you? And he was like, okay. And we started talking. And I was like, so, in case if you ever want any other maps, he's like, we're starting a new campaign. I was like, don't tease me. So same with Wormwood. I tweeted to them like, it'd be really cool on one of your towers, one of my maps. And they were like, we could make that happen. I was like, no.
That's why I say there's no promotion like self-promotion. If
right?
you don't care about your stuff, nobody else will either. So, oh no, did you freeze? No, you're frozen. You appear to be frozen. So, we'll wait a couple moments and see. There you go. You froze
there you go.
For a long time. I'm like, you're now a JPEG.
I mean...
or maybe I was the JPEG. I don't know.
Right? You were stuck in position. I kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Yeah, we have to upgrade my computer. It can't handle the graphics I do, so it's just like dying on me.
I think I can. I think I know.
No, I can't. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, that was like when we went to we had been discussing going to like a 3-camera shoot, and a buddy of mine was like, yeah, you might be able to figure out how to do that and all, but I know the computer you're using to edit your stuff on is going to melt into a pile of goo if you try that.
Yeah.
But then we started outsourcing our editing, and it's their problem. So,
right? I can't outsource my job, though.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
It's only part of the job, and it's the part that I didn't really care about and wasn't particularly good at. So,
right. I just finally got to the point where it's like I need to hire people to help me. So I very scarily hired somebody to do like some of my graphic designs, my website.
Well, sometimes too, it's just like it's not worth your time and energy to do those things, and and as creatives, as creators, and business owners, we just have to learn to let go a little bit.
Well, that part's easy for me because I used to be an efficiency manager in my previous life.
Okay.
And so I'm the person who like bugs everyone to hire the right people. It's just when you are a small company and you're the only person who does, like literally without on a sick day, nothing gets done without me.
Yeah.
So when you actually get to the point where it's like, not only do I have to, but I can afford to hire somebody to do this. It's just amazing. Like it's weird because people like walk up to me and are like, oh yeah, you're famous. I am so not famous, but thank you, Or I love that everyone puts the word "the" in front of my name.
Yeah.
Like you're the Deven Rue.
Well, it's a cool way to be famous because you could go to if you were to show up at a convention, a bunch of people would know who you are and want to stop you. But if you go to the grocery store, you can just go shopping.
So. Although, unless of course I go to like a crafting store, which actually has happened, and I was like, wait, what? Like you don't. This doesn't happen. Like you recognize me? They're like, yeah, you're Deven. I was like, okay, I need to go now because this is just weird. But
one of the last times I took my wife to one of her doctor's appointments. I was waiting outside in the car, and like the mail carrier was delivering mail and stopped and was like, hey, and stopped to say hi or whatever. Although, admittedly, my car has nerdarchy.com and our logo on the sides of the doors and the big goblin with the logo on the hood. So it is
You might be a
fairly
little
easy
bit
to
more,
spot.
yeah. Yeah, I was just like, because it was great because I go to pay for it, and she's like, "Are you Deven Rue?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" Like because you instantly get paranoid because it's
Yeah.
never happened to me. I was like, "Why? How do you know my name?"
I didn't do it, whatever it was. It was like that when I got here.
Yeah, I swear to God, it was totally someone who looked like me, just left. It was me, no, not me. So yeah, but it's really neat, and so especially as a tiny company who I didn't, you don't really, especially growing up doing this, been playing for 30 something years. When I started at 14 and thought that this was like this huge industry and found out that it's a really tiny one, and then to have gone through all these years of playing and to have it research, so huge recently, just wow, and then to like, it's a viable business. Who knew, you know? So,
I'm right there with you. I mean, when when we started doing this stuff, I only started because a friend of mine pushed me into it that is not into the hobby in any way, shape, or form. And they're like, "You should do this." I'm like, "Nobody's gonna care about that." And
right?
and I'm like, it's a small industry. There's there's no money there. Um,
Right.
which and then and so they kind of convinced me, and then we started doing it, and I was like, I guess this is a thing, and we've been doing it full time for a while, and
Yeah. Same here. I was like,
and
yeah,
you
there.
have skills and talents even.
How many of us draw our own maps?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've been playing, I've never had a DM that didn't draw their own map. So I was like, why would somebody pay me? We all draw our own. And then I
that
was like, oh,
that is actually one of the tough parts I think about this industry is because it's full of so many creatives
yes,
that it devalues the professional a little bit, and we do see that, but yes, like we all create this stuff and do this stuff, but not everyone can do it on a professional level.
right.
So
And that's one of the reasons why it was interesting to see um, that it was my prop making drawing. Because when I draw, because I draw technical maps, which is hilarious, and they look nothing like my prop maps. They literally look like blueprints. And so when I draw a technical map, like that's what I'm always thinking of when somebody's like, "Oh, so you draw maps professionally." I was like, "Well, I guess technically yes," but the fact that it went over immediately to drawing prop maps was where if that had happened any sooner, I would have been doing this for the majority of my life. But it never dawned on me like, oh, right. Yeah, I guess, we're not all artistic. We can draw a technical map, but not a immersive in-world map. So,
and I'm sure that's way more fun anyway. So
oh yeah. No, this is infinitely more fun than my technical maps, which require a scientific calculator to do. Um, but yeah, no, this is so much more fun. And it's like I said, it's storytelling in a very unusual way, and I love it.
how when you're drawing your maps, like how scientific do you get with it? Do is everything based on cause and effect, and this is how the real world works, or do you just draw what looks cool?
If I'm drawing one of my own maps, I have a set of physics that I adhere to. So in my cartography course on Patreon, I have enough real world facts to kind of like give a DM a better idea of like, okay, so if I was going to make a map, it would have this on it or that on, or like the cause and effect of what would be around particular biomes. So there's enough earth science in it to give it realism. But then I tell you, like, after that, ignore it and just stay in your own world physics. And by that, I mean, like, if you have a waterfall that goes upward, then it needs to go upward in other places or an explanation as to why it's just that place, you know? And it can't always just be, well, a wizard made a mistake and blew something up. give it more lore than that, please. And then write the lore around it, what the locals call it, what they do, they worship it, like is it, like do they know what magic is, and to really world build their specific key points. And I mean, we have planets in our galaxy that rain sapphires. We have amazing world physics in our own galaxy that is just mind blowing in comparison to what we have on this planet. So there is nothing that someone has come up with yet that has been like as insane as a planet that has a constant diamond shard storm.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes. And it's crazy to think of, and they have like little dust devils that go around in diamond shards, so it's really neat. But in my own, because I world build from the beginning, I world build how the planet is formed, so I can keep my physics. So I have my tectonic plate, so I have currents in the water. So, but I also build one world. Like, unlike people who are like, well, every campaign I need to make a new map. Why? If you've gone through all of that for one, you can totally stay on that planet and just find other areas.
How
Or,
how mapped out is your campaign world? Like, do you have a campaign you've been playing for a long time?
yeah, we've been playing as a group, and on this planet, we technically have been playing for a little over 10 years. And the our most recent campaign is we're going on 2 years now. So, and this is the one where they decided like we're just going for the cure of vampirism, and then that just like healed off into a whole other direction. We've gone off world too, so because we can, I guess. And they've decided that they can pick through the planes. So this has been joy. I am not mapping all of them.
Oh.
Yeah, not yet at least.
Really,
I need
it's
to
a
get paid for
conspiracy.
that.
Really, it's a conspiracy just to see what they can make you map.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they've been grossly disappointed at times because if they come up with something like too on the fly,
Yeah.
I will literally just throw down something like really like someone else's map, even for that matter. I was like, oh no, I found this great map. I did that for a ship recently, and they were all like, oh, I thought you draw one. I was like, why would I? Look at this beautiful map of a ship. You don't need me to draw one.
They're so
Oh
spoiled.
yeah, they're just doing it to harass me.
What is
I
the
know
what
that.
is the most bizarre map you've made for your game?
Technically, I've made a Titan's butthole map.
Oh my god! How did I know it was gonna go there when you started laughing like that?
I there was a place on the map that essentially translated to like deviliness,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to just been a joke, and then it wasn't.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it became a fossilized Titan, and they went in for some reason because they're crazy like that and walked through intestines, which was great because it looks kind of cool.
Ugh,
Mm-hmm.
that is crazy.
Yeah,
There's
but
a
this is the stuff that they put me through. So,
there's a Kobold Press adventure. There's this area where like some temporal thing happens and there's just these like titanic creatures that are living and they move, but it's so slow. It's like tectonic plate slow.
oh wow,
And like the adventure we went through, I think it was like goblins had built like rigging and all kinds of things around them, um, to live on them. And like literally, like there's two of them locked in battle. So like chunks are flying off. So they're like floating islands.
oh god,
It just made me think of that when you're talking about it. Your petrified Titan butthole.
and it's only part of a Titan, and it's everything is underground.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's above ground is part of the anus that you
Yeah.
can enter,
Interesting.
and a tail, a snubbed tail, is all you're told, and it looks like a petrified rock.
Like a towel that's been docked.
Yeah,
That seems like the perfect place to end things today.
there you go. At the end,
At the end, I would just passed an hour. I want to thank you for coming along. I really appreciate it.
I
Glad
love
we
to.
got to chat.
Yeah.
And final words before we head out.
I'm all over the internet. Everyone knows. Just Google my name. I'm really horrible at self promotions. I'm out there.
Links are in the description, as well as once
Yeah.
this thing is not live anymore, they'll be in the pinned comment as well. So until next time, stay nerdy.
Yeah.